This episode is a collaboration episode with Ashley from Ghost Gossip. I have an episode that'll drop on her channel the same day as this one. So after you're done watching, make sure you head over to Ghost Gossip and listen to my interview.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Mist monsters and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Mist monsters and bullets run amok.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Mist Monsters and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp. If you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. And when I say paranormal, I mean anything. You've seen a ghost. Maybe you saw Bigfoot. Maybe you saw a UFO. Maybe you were abducted by aliens. I want to hear about it. mythsandmullets@gmail.com. October 4th, Ada, Ohio, the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. It's coming up. I'll be there. Nevermore Hollows will be there. Chumming with the Spirits. Drunken Cryptids. So many of my guests. You're going to see them all there. It's October 4th, Ada, Ohio. The Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree, put on by Cryptids of the Corn. Another great podcast. Come out and meet me. Get your picture taken. Maybe we can set up an interview. Make sure you're checking out the descriptions down below. You're going to see all my favorite podcasts. Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptids, Chumming with the Spirits, Ghost Gossip. So many great podcasts. I love them. I think you will too. I listen to them every week. You should be binging these people. They're great shows. Check out the links in the description. I really do appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me over the last couple months. It has been amazing. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Comment on one of my videos. Tell me how I'm doing. Maybe give me some ideas. Maybe you want to be a guest on the show. You can do that as well. Also, hit that like button. Share it out with a friend. That's the only way we can grow. If you're interested in supporting the show, there's an easy way to do that. Over on Spotify, for $2.99 a month, it's only 10 cents a day, you're going to get members-only episodes, free episodes, meaning no intros, no music, just interviews, and no sponsor ads. So if you're interested in helping me support the show, head over to Spotify, click on one of the member episodes, and for $2.99 a month, you're going to get all this bonus footage. And with that, let's start the show. Welcome back to Mist Monsters and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp. On today's show, Ashley from Ghost Gossip. Ashley, how you doing today?
Hello, I am good. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Just got back from vacation. So nice.
Yeah.
And not only was it nice and beautiful in the mountains of Georgia, I got to run into you in Helen.
You did. We got to meet.
That was a lot of fun. My wife and I had been to Georgia. We went down there for my anniversary, or not my anniversary, for my honeymoon. And when we were planning our yearly vacation this year, we were like, where do we want to go? And for shits and giggles, I put in the Vrbo app to see if our cabin was available that weekend that we had on our honeymoon. And it happened to be. I'm like, well, let's just go back to Georgia. And then it worked out because I got to hang out with you, and I got to hang out with the guys from Nevermore Hollows. And yeah, it was great. And I got to hang out with my wife. I mean, I probably ought to throw that in there too.
Yeah, she was there. Yeah, of all the places, like Georgia, like for your anniversary, like how did y'all find Georgia? Like how did you determine that? Or for your honeymoon, I should say.
I wanted the mountains.
Okay.
And we were thinking about all the places that we've been, and let's pick something different. And I forget, somebody actually recommended Blue Ridge. I forget who it was. We know Blue Ridge area is pretty nice.
I hear they have black bears. It's so funny because John was like, I haven't seen a black bear. And I was like, oh yeah, me neither. And then he left the day before I left. And then as we were leaving, a black bear ran out in front of our car.
I was in that area for a total, over the 2 trips, I was in that area for, I think 16 days, something like that. Never saw a freaking black bear. Even commented to you on the Friday before we left, I really would like to see a black bear, but I haven't seen one. And then I get a message from Ashley. Hey, just saw a black bear.
That was so funny. I had never seen one up until that point either. And it was not expected. We were driving home and Daniel thought it was somebody's mailbox because it wasn't moving. Just, like how people have like centric mailboxes. And then this thing started to move and we're like, bear, bear. And then it ran out in front of us. And it's like, that was a bear.
Whatever.
I was like, I got to let John know we saw a bear.
Whatever.
Yep.
So for the listeners, though, Ashley and I met on TikTok. I was doing a live and she came in and I saw ghost gossip. I'm like, well, she has to have something related to the paranormal. It's like, why don't you jump in the box here? And then we've come to find out she has a podcast. So right. Ashley, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about ghost gossip and how you got started on that?
So ghost gossip came from, I bought a haunted house and I felt like I was going crazy. I honestly thought that I was losing my mind. I was having headaches all the time. I was having some health issues, even ended up having like a CT scan to make sure I didn't have a tumor in my brain because the activity was so much in my house. Like I was feeling like I was going crazy and there was nothing wrong. And I was like, I got to talk about this. I know that there are people that have stories. I need to find them and I need to talk about it so I feel less crazy. And Ghost Gossip was born. It started out with just stories about my house and then it morphed into stories from other people. And then now I do haunted histories on locations, like actual, like Missouri State Penitentiary or, just big locations. The Crescent Hotel is probably my favorite. And then now I'm doing collabs with other creators.
Yeah. Yeah. You made it all the way to myths, monsters, and mullets.
I've arrived.
Yeah. I do want to apologize though, because you and I started talking and I was like, man, I really like her show. I like her energy. And I invited you into a live one time and I have a group of podcasters that I'm close friends with and they all decided they wanted to meet you that night. Mm-hmm. So they all came in and I was like, that probably wasn't the best thing to do, to bombard her with all these dudes from the internet.
It was fine. It was fine. I know that kind of bothered other people more than it bothered me. Okay. It didn't bother me that much. It was one of those things where it felt like I was at a table with a bunch of old friends and I was the new person getting to know everybody. It really was fine. And then, like JD and I talk on a regular basis now and learning so much from him. Him and his hosts, there's a lot of brains in that group.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about JD from Chumming with the Spirits.
Yes. And so it really was fine. It was good. And, and our thing that scared me the most about you is I didn't realize this meth camp was a character at first. So when we started like talking, I was like, I couldn't put my finger on it because I was like, this guy's weird. And I even told my husband, I was like, he's really nice, but he talks about cougars and MILFs. And I'm like, I don't really know how to take him. And then we became friends on Facebook and I was like, the mullet, it's a character.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, he's fine. This guy's fine.
Yeah. A lot of people, if you met me through TikTok, a lot of people know me as Meth and Camp.
Yeah.
Because that's how my online creation started. My content creation started was this character and it was all comedy. And then I branched out into this paranormal stuff. So yeah.
It took me a minute and I didn't know because I only knew you on TikTok and that's all I was seeing. And it wasn't until we moved over to Facebook. I was like, okay, he's fine. He's harmless. He's good. But those first few messages, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Sorry, just bleep that out. But yeah, like,
I get it.
I told my husband.
Yeah, it depends on how you met me. It just depends on how you met me. What that first impression is. I get it.
And I told my husband, I was like, he told me he's going to Blue Ridge on his vacation and said that we should come down, which oddly enough we did. And asked me for my phone number. And I'm like, and he talks about MILFs and cougars. And I'm really confused. And Daniel's just staring at me like, what?
For those that are listening that don't know my story, go over to Ghost Gossip because you're going to hear my story on her show very soon because we're going to record an episode with her after this one. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to learn about this, the creation of John Muthenkamp.
So you said you had this haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to your show, I feel like you had an interest in the paranormal before that. So let's talk about little Ashley and where her interest in the paranormal started.
So my mentor thinks that I have had, so let's just get this on the table. I have sensitivities, abilities, and I'm not comfortable calling myself a psychic or a medium, but I'm one of those people that I am sensitive. I'm very intuitive. I'm an empath. I have all those abilities, but sometimes it's a little bit more. I know things that I should not know before they happen or about people in general. Like the other day, I was going to my sister's house and it just hit me, her bird's going to die. And then the next day I get a text saying, hey, the bird died. So it's stuff like that. It's just really random. They come out of nowhere. And I've been keeping a log, and that's more justification for myself, like for validation that it's not my imagination. Like it's almost like pings. Like, this is crazy. I had a ping about my ex-boyfriend from 2016 the other day, just a little ping. He just kind of popped in my head and I'm like, ugh. And then I wake up 2 days ago and I have a friend request from him. And I'm like, what the delete. Nope, not doing that one. And then I had a ping and I was like, it said, check your receipt. And I had checked my receipt and it was for my daughter. She had just had her wisdom teeth out and I went to go get her medicine. And so I knew it was supposed to be 90 cents, the medicine, but we bought some other stuff. So our bill was like $30. And so I didn't even think about it. But as we were leaving Publix, I got that. It sounded like a woman's voice said, check your receipt. So I stopped and Daniel was with me and he stopped and he looked at me because we're walking out the door and I pull out my receipt and it charged me $13. And I was like, that's odd. Her medicine's supposed to be 90 cents. So I pulled out the medicine bag and they had given me a man's heart medication instead of my daughter's medicine. So
you could have killed her. That
could have killed her. Yes. I was mortified and I was just like, I don't know where that voice, I just got chills. I don't know where that voice came from, but it was as clear as if Daniel had leaned over and said it to me himself. That's how clear it was. And he's like, I knew something was wrong because you just stopped mid stride. And then like I had another one the other day where I was like, Daniel's going to forget we're in my car. And so I typed it up in my phone. I keep it in my notes app. And it was 2 days later, we were in a parking lot. And he's like, God, I keep looking for my car. I forgot we're in yours. And so it's really weird. I can't control it. You know, I've been working with a mentor. I don't think I'm as far along as she would like me to be, but I have a lot of stuff going on in my life outside that kind of blocks my abilities. So when they come through, they shock me.
Yeah.
But she's like, I think they started when you were much younger. And I said, well, 13 is about the age that I noticed them. She's like, no, I think it was probably before that. But when I was 13, my first experience was with a dog who was not mine, who had passed away, and I didn't know. I had gone to babysit a little boy who was about 3 or 4 years old, and my parents were going on a double date with his parents. And I rang the doorbell. I was so excited. It was my first babysitting gig. So I ran up to the, like, I remember they had like a stone pathway, and the way Greenville is it's kind of hilly downtown. So I ran up and I rang the doorbell and I hear this little yappy dog at the bottom of the door and just yap, 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 yap. And I'm like, oh, they have a dog. And my dad's like walking up behind me. He's like, because he loves dogs too. They open the door, no dog. And I'm like, maybe they put it away because maybe it bites, right? So I was watching this kid throughout the evening. I would hear the dog a little bit throughout the evening, never saw the dog. I put him to bed and I went and sat on the couch waiting for my parents and their friends to get back. And they come in and I remember I'm laying on their couch and I'm in the dark and they come in around like the kind of like the stairs and I'm like, hey, where's your dog? And the guy kind of froze and he looked at my parents and he's like, well, you know, your dad asked me that same question and our dog died 6 months ago and we've been hearing him, but we never know who hears him. So we don't say anything. So my dad, my mom, and myself heard this ghost dog.
And they've been hearing the ghost dog.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yes. So my first experience was with a ghost dog that wasn't even mine.
Wow. I guess it was better that it's a small dog.
It sounded like a weenie dog.
Instead of like a Rottweiler growling.
That's true.
That'd been kind of terrifying.
Could you imagine 13 years old just hearing growling? I'm like, oh, no. And then the second one was around that same time. Now, to be fair, I don't know which one happened first because I know my grandfather died the summer of my 7th grade year before I started 7th grade. And so I was 13. So these happened around the same time, but I can't tell you which one happened first.
You mean you didn't write down all your childhood memories and
Right.
that irks me when people are like, well, he said a few minutes ago that happened when he was 12, but then he said, well, it might've been 13. So is he making it up? No, you're not making it up. You don't write the stuff down.
I'm almost 41. I'm old and tired and I have 3 teenagers and everything is a blur. I have a lot going on. But so, yeah, I know these happen around the same time. I always do the dog first because the dog is the most vivid. And to me, that was like my first, because I was like, wow, that is incredible. Ghosts are real. You know what I mean? Like that was like that first one. But this one, my grandfather passed away and we weren't really close. He is a Puerto Rican sergeant in the Army. And I'm not sure if you know about Hispanic men, and this is a stereotype of Hispanic men. Hispanic men traditionally, especially in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, before more modern times, Hispanic men were they're the head of household. Like my grandmother was not allowed to work. She wasn't allowed to have a driver's license. Like it was, yeah. He was very stern and he was this is how it goes. He was rigid. And I had a very mixed relationship with him because I didn't understand why he was so hard. I saw my friends with their grandparents and their grandparents were soft and laughed and loved being around them. My grandfather was mean to me. So when he passed away, I had mixed emotions. Like I was sad. I knew I should have been more sad because I know my mom was devastated, but I just wasn't sad. Like it was like,
Right.
okay, we weren't close. So I was really confused and was in my room and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I remember laying there and it was a few weeks after he was buried and just laying up, like couldn't sleep. I struggle with insomnia, which is part of my gifts, which is a gift and a curse sometimes. But I was just laying in bed and I didn't realize at the time I was gifted. But all of a sudden my room was overwhelmed with his scent. Like he was standing next to me and it was a very strong, like brute type smell. And he was the only person that I knew wore that. And it was almost like he was telling me it's okay. So, and I've never smelled it again. I've had other things that I wonder if it was him being around or hanging around because he doesn't hang around me a lot. My other grandparents do. But it was almost like that was his way of telling me it was okay. Like he was comforting me in his own way.
Yeah. And that isn't even so much you were talking about how stern and harsh he was. That I think that goes across all cultures because my grandfather was the same way until he retired. And when he retired, it was like, wait a minute, this ain't the same guy. But
we never got that version of him.
Right. But my grandfather was the same way. Like he's in charge. What he says goes. And, he just is, he was that, I think it was just that generation.
Yeah, it could have been. Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was just my family. So that's good to know.
So
yeah, that's how that started. That's when I knew like the paranormal, the spirit world was present.
Right. Did I hear on your show that you messed with the Ouija board?
Yes. I was young. I was younger than 13, yeah.
Really?
I did. Yes. It was at a sleepover. And
it's like a horror movie, Ashley.
I know. And just wait till you hear about my house. It was like a horror movie. That's what I was on somebody else's show. And that's what he's like. He's like, this is how scary movies start. Yeah. But so I believe it or not, I was an introverted kid and I'm an introvert now. I can be extroverted online because I can do it on my own terms,
Right.
But with people, I had a really hard time making friends, never had groups of friends because being around a bunch of people wears me out. And I didn't know when I was younger what that was called. I just knew that I preferred smaller groups or to be by myself. So I got invited to this sleepover and I have the picture from this sleepover somewhere. It's actually shared on my Instagram somewhere. And I was like maybe 5 of us maybe. And one of the girls, and I'm not going to say her name, but one of them's like, I have a Ouija board. So we had played the Ouija board, moved. We were all like, are you moving that? No, are you moving that? Like all like kind of nan at each other. Like, you stop moving it. Well, I'm not moving it. Are you moving it? I'm not moving it. Well, then we decided, okay, we're going to play stiff as a feather, light as a board. One of them laid down and we were like, chanting like a little psychopaths.
Like witches.
I swear she raised up. I don't know. Maybe she did something. So we freaked out. And the only logical conclusion was we're going to put the Ouija board in the freezer. So we go downstairs. All of us have this Ouija board where it's the dark. We're like, I don't even know where was this mama? This mama, as a mother of teenage girls, that mama's in her room like, nope, not going down there right now. They'll figure it out. But we went down into the kitchen, opened the freezer, and shoved this Ouija board in the freezer and slammed the door shut. And then the freezer popped open and it scared us even more because we're like, the demon's trying to get out of the freezer. Not thinking like maybe that Ouija board was just too big for the freezer, Right. But yeah, that was my only time. Now I do have a Ouija board now. I bought it from Five Below for my studio, but it is not in here because it still scares me. But I interviewed the owner operator of the Ouija board museum in Salem, and he put me at ease. Like, he's like, they are what you make of them. What you believe it is will be what it is.
That's exactly what the devil wants you to think.
That's what they all. I'm going to meet him next week. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we were talking about that. It's your anniversary, correct?
Yes. 3 years.
Well, happy anniversary, even though this episode will come out way after your anniversary. But happy anniversary.
And happy anniversary to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're both celebrating 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. We have so much in common.
Go. We do. It's weird.
Are we separated at birth? No, because you're a lot younger than me.
I was going to say, I don't know. How old are you?
I'm 49 this year. I turned 49 this year.
So. Well, you're not, I mean, realistically, you're not that much older than me. I'm 41 this year. So I just don't look 41.
You do not.
You say I do, I swear.
I don't have to worry about the black bear anymore.
Genes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I get my mama's genes. She's beautiful.
So you played with the Ouija board.
Sure did.
You had the ghost dog and your grandfather visited you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all that happened when you were young, or did you have other things that stick out?
That's what I remember from that time period of my life.
Gotcha.
And it was years later when I was in my early 20s until something else happened.
Okay. Well, let's fast forward a little bit.
So when I was 18, I got into a relationship with somebody who was not good. He was abusive and he was an alcoholic. And it was my first real relationship. And I did not know the signs of a toxic relationship. I was in that relationship for almost 8 years. We got married. I knew I shouldn't have gotten married to him. Like, even my dad, before we walked down the aisle, was like, you don't have to do this. But I was so young. I was worried what people would think of me, Well, I remember we hadn't been married long and I was in my bedroom and he was out drinking somewhere. He hadn't come home. And I remember I was just crying, like, where is my life? How did my life get here? I was raised by a good family. Like, why? Like, why is this happening? And my grandfather, not my Puerto Rican grandfather, but my grandfather who I was close with, he had passed away a few years before. And he was the rock and he was a sense of calm for me. And I was laying in my bed and my bed faced the door. And from the door was the kitchen. And through the kitchen was a window and there was a street light. And you could see the street light from the window into my bedroom. And I was staring at the door. And he's my ex-husband now, but my husband at the time, my ex-husband, I knew he wasn't home because he had a loud truck. And so I knew it wasn't him. But all of a sudden there was a figure standing in my doorway and I stopped crying and I got very calm and I just knew it was my grandfather. And he stood there for a few minutes until I calmed down and he slowly faded away and the light showed back up in the doorway. And it was like he was telling me, it's okay. You're okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You're okay.
So you couldn't make out any detail. It was like backlit.
But he was backlit. It was just a shadow. I will say, I tear up. So he wore a little like po' boy hat, like a little newspaper boy hat back in the day, back in the 20s and 30s. He always wore one of those. And you could see the outline of that little hat.
Really?
Yeah. And he's with me. He stays with me a lot, him and my grandmother. They are with me all the time.
Because normally that kind of encounter, I would probably say that was a hat man, but
no,
but this wasn't. This was gentler. Didn't feel so dark as people's experience with the Hat Man. So yeah, it probably was your grandfather.
Yeah, I hope so. If not, the Hat Man just comforted me right to bed that night.
It's because you played with the Ouija board.
That, you know what? Sometimes I wonder, all these years later, 41 and still being punished for that. But yeah, and then my second one in that same house, this is when I always knew that I was very empathetic to other people's feelings and emotions, and I could sense their emotions or their moods usually before they ever said anything. And it was Halloween and I was trick-or-treating. I wasn't trick-or-treating. I was handing out candy in my friend's neighborhood while people trick-or-treated. I didn't have a neighborhood. I lived out in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't get to pass out candy. So I went to her neighborhood with her. She decides to tell me the story of her neighbor, Michael, who had unalived himself. And they thought it was an accident because there had been several times that he had attempted to unalive himself. And his parents were able to catch him in time or stop him in time. And she said this particular time they didn't get home and he unalived himself. And that since he died, they've been having things in their house move, pictures flipped upside down, really just weird things, almost like a prankster. And as she was talking, I got this really eerie feeling and I covered in chills. And I was like, and I looked over at the house and it was almost like I could feel him kind of like coming out, like out of curiosity, like, y'all are talking about me. And when I went home that night, I didn't feel like I was alone. And I went home and my dog, I had a Jack Russell. My bathroom had a window. You could see the outside porch light. Well, I was laying in bed and the outside porch light came on. So I got up and I went out and around and I turned the light off and I came back to bed. And when I laid back down, it came back on. And I was like, I'm not doing this with you. So I closed the bathroom door and I was like, that should fix it. Well, then my little Jack Russell was standing at the end of the bed, facing the bathroom door, growling, hair on end. And I was like, oh my goodness. So needless to say, I didn't sleep much that night. Felt so uneasy and uncomfortable. Went to work, came home, and I had a bunch of like silverware that was moved. And I was like, so I called my friend who was Wiccan and I was like, I don't know what I brought home with me. And I told her what was going on. And she goes, you need to demand him to leave. So she's like, call your friend, tell her to come over, demand him to leave, and then have her take him back home. And so I did. And my friend, we don't talk anymore, but this might be why. She came and I was like, you are not welcome here. You must leave. And she's like, what now? And I was like, just leave. And so she did. And he was gone. That was crazy. That experience was like my first like poltergeisty trickster experience. It unnerved me. Like it was uncomfortable.
So maybe as the friend, I'm thinking from the friend's point of view, I come over to help get rid of this ghost and the person says, okay, now you just leave. Well, I'm thinking, did they just cast a demon into me?
We were friends for a little bit longer. It wasn't until we got out of school that we kind of grew apart. But I actually saw her not too long ago. We were going to Vegas for my 40th birthday last year. And she works for TSA. Yeah. I saw her and I was like, And Daniel's like, you going to say anything? I was like, no, I'm good. I don't think she recognized me. So
yeah. Wow. So you just have all these haunted houses that you've lived in all your life, basically.
It's not so much the locations that are haunted. When you're sensitive and you become a kind of like a beacon for things, it becomes the person is a little more of the reason than the house or the location, where I can go anywhere and have an experience. And so what I've learned over the past 20 years, it's not the locations, it's just me.
Gotcha. So you cast the demon from your house, not the demon, the ghost.
Be gone, Michael, be gone. Yeah.
So do we have anything else that happens at that location or?
No, that was a really bad time. There are sections of my life because the abuse was so bad that I don't remember. Those I remember because they were so vivid and they didn't involve my ex-husband, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I was with him for so long that there are sections of my life that are missing because it was very traumatic. It took me a long time to heal and be able to not lose my mind and cry. But I felt like my grandparents were very present during that time just because it was so volatile. It was like when I left, and I know this is not a domestic violence talk, but when I left with the assumption that there was a good possibility I would not survive it.
Wow.
And when I hear stories about coercive control and women who finally, and men too, they finally get the nerve to leave and then they end up being unalived by that partner. I realize how lucky I am that I am still alive. The fact that I had such a wonderful support system that, I mean, if it wasn't for my mom and my dad, like it got so bad, I put in for a transfer when I was with the court system and they moved me to a different court and to a different city in our state.
Really?
And he followed me. And it was so bad that law enforcement had to intervene because I worked for the agency I worked for. I was covered under a certain statute and they confronted him and they told him, like, if you don't stop, there will be charges filed against you. And if, I mean, telling you, if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for the law enforcement, I don't really talk about, yeah. But if it wasn't for that group of men that went out there and confronted him, like, there's no telling. Like, it was so bad that the guards at my work were going out and checking my car every day for trackers. Wow. So he was not, and I was young and, it wasn't good. So yeah, I know that when my dad and I were living together, we had some stuff happen in that house, and it was the lady that had passed away before we bought the house. She was very kind. She was just kind of nosy. She was just very curious about us, but she didn't really cause anything. There wasn't a lot that happened in that house. And it wasn't until I became a single mother and I moved back up to the upstate, and I was living with just by myself, just me and her, that I started to become super sensitive again. Because during that time between my first marriage and the time I became a single mom, I was healing and I was really closed off and I had shut my emotions down. So anything that I was feeling outside of myself, I was numb. And so once I started to really, truly heal and forgive myself for that first marriage and knowing that it wasn't my fault and forgiving myself for mistakes that I made, and I started to feel again. I started to allow myself to feel again. And that's when my sensitivity started to come back. That's when, like, I started to hear people calling my name when nobody was around, or, seeing shadows move like around me, but there's nothing ever there, or knowing things before I should know them. So that's when those fired up again. And I was 30.
You were becoming yourself again.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize, and we can talk about whatever here, I don't care. Trauma and bad relationships and just depression, they change who you are. And it is possible to come back to being who you were and who you're supposed to be. But
well, I shut down completely.
Yeah. And when you're shutting down like that, just like with your sensitivities, you're not who you're supposed to be. So those sensitivities shut off as well.
Yeah. Oh. And I was because I'm just going to say it, like, and there's such a stigma, and it's something that I've accepted. I've been married 3 times, and, people hear that like people hear that and they're, it's kind of like, my dad, he's so funny. Dad, when I told him, when I was getting my second divorce was from Dad, we had actually gotten pregnant, and that's why we got married. And another time that I knew we shouldn't have gotten married, he's 16 years older than me, and great man, great father. We just were so different. Yeah. And we met in a time when I was healing and he was healing from his divorce. And, it just, things happen, and she's a beautiful blessing. I was infertile. I was never supposed to have children. It happened when it was meant to happen. And I am so grateful for him and the timing of it, because it was a miracle. But I told my dad, I was like, nobody's going to want me, because I'm 30 years old, divorced twice. And he's like, that first one don't count. And he didn't say don't, because he would be like, Ashley, that grammar's horrible. But he said, Ashley, the first one doesn't count. There's absolutely nothing that you could have done to make that better. So he's like, so don't even. And so as I accepted that fact about me and moved into my 30s and got to know who I was again and found my voice again and found I had more fun in my than I ever did in my 20s, because I wasn't allowed to have. And so it was amazing to finally, like, go to concerts and not have my phone blow up, or just go to the mall and not be accused of being somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, or wearing a dress and not being accused of wearing it for somebody else. Like, it was like rediscovering that. Yeah. 30s were great. 40s have been even better. But 30s was finding out who I was outside of my first husband and my second husband, because my second husband, I was a shell of who I was. He didn't even know me. And when I finally started to find my voice again, he actually said, like, I don't even know you. And I went, you know what? No, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't. Because when you met me, I was broken. So
I
now
see
this is a
your-
marriage counseling podcast.
Whatever. It's whatever. I see how you and Daniel are, though.
Mm-hmm.
I love your guys' back and forth where you guys are, you can tell that you guys are so comfortable with each other because you're able to pick on each other and laugh with each other. And, you know, and I've said it before, I'm Team Daniel.
I know
I'm going to say this, Ashley. Sometimes I think you're mean to him.
I know. I am mean to him. But what he says is, y'all don't see how much I annoy her.
I got that when I met him. I think that if we lived closer, Daniel and I could be good friends.
For sure.
Because we have the same kind of energy and the same kind of, from the short amount of time that I spent with him, the humor is there. The same kind of humor and stuff like
He
that.
put his mullet on today.
He put it on today?
Yeah. He was in the closet. You put it on. He goes, look at me.
For those that don't know, Daniel did receive the official Myths, Monsters, and Mullets mullet when
Sure
we met
did.
up in Helen, Georgia. And apparently he loves it because I've
Yeah,
seen other pictures with him in it.
That was so funny. We were at a bar grill type, and he put it on when Justin got there, like, look. And so yes, he doesn't have hair. So now he has some kind of hair. But yes, we go back and forth. He annoys and picks at me. And that's what most people don't see. Like he just picks. And then like, I'm like, but yes. Yeah. I know. I am mean. People are like, you look mean. I am mean.
But I don't know when I hear you and him on the show, and I can tell. Just, man, I could be way off base. Could be because maybe it's all Hollywood.
I'll tell you if you are.
It could be all just smoke and mirrors. But the way you guys interact with each other, I see that you're happy. I hear it in your voice. You are happy, and I love that.
He's
and
my
now
best
knowing,
friend.
and that's the way it should be. That's the way Becca and I are.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Becca and I, we've been together 9 years, married for 3, and these 9 years have been the happiest of my life.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I have 2 beautiful kids, and I wouldn't trade any of those memories with them. Those memories are great. But when it comes to a relationship,
yes,
that part of my life, these are the best 9 years of my life. I'm myself, and it's freeing. It really is.
Yeah,
So
you
I guess
never
we did turn
know.
into a relationship podcast. At this point,
right.
but that's
Welcome
fine.
to Myths, Monsters, Mullets, and Marriage. Welcome, guys.
It's the 4 M's now.
Well, what people don't understand when you've had toxic relationships, just nonstop toxic relationships, one, it's you. When you're picking the same type of person, it's because there's something inside of you that doesn't understand that you deserve something more. And that's why you always gravitate for what you think you deserve. No, baby girl. Y'all need to just go and find something more. You want it. You want that type. You're worth it. So, you have to do that internal work in order to get there. But once you're there and you find it and somebody loves you completely and they don't want to change anything about you, and you can communicate even on your worst days. Like I have a panic disorder where after 15 years with my career, I developed some kind of anxiety panic disorder because of pressure, because of what I was doing with the court system. It was a lot of pressure, and I already struggled with anxiety. So it just kind of developed into that. And when I get overwhelmed or I start having like a panic attack, other people get like, cause I can get mean. I will snap. I get really short tempered because I am feeling like the weight of the world is coming down on me. And he has been truly the only person who will look at me and be like, it is okay. What do you need me to do? He doesn't try to change me, my sass, my humor, anything. He is, and him too, because the more you get to see him, especially in we're friends on Facebook. I used to post more, but because of some things that went on the past 2 years, I've kind of pulled back. But his personality, he's a large personality. And he wants to play guitar, but he also wants to surf, and he wants to do woodwork, and he has all these like different things that make him him, and not everybody gets it. And he's perfect just the way he is, even though he annoys the crap out of me sometimes. And he has the humor of sometimes a 12-year-old. He is fun. Like truly, when you find that, it's like, wow, I went my whole life thinking that I had to be something I'm not, but this person loves me for me, it's game changing, and it changes everything about your life after that.
Yeah. Changes your whole outlook
Yeah.
because you go from thinking I'm stuck. This is how I'm going to be miserable my entire life.
This is it.
And then for me, Becca and I met on the internet.
Daniel and I did too. We've been together 7 years.
Yeah. See, it can happen, people. It can. You just got to find that person and
You gotta sift through the trash sometimes.
And don't settle.
Don't
settle. And the other thing is, I guess we're doing relationships. Who cares?
Welcome, everybody.
The other thing is, don't look at the superficial stuff.
Oh.
Find what makes your soul happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that superficial stuff will either come or it was never meant to be.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Just be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Make your heart happy. And then the rest of it will come. Just give it time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I worked on myself before we met, and I found, my voice again, and, all these weird things about me, like that he had to learn about, like the sensitive, the paranormal, the spirits, the stuff like that. He learned as time went on, and he didn't think, okay, you psychopath. He was like, okay. And if I'm talking to a house spirit and he's like, he walks in, he's just like, sup, like it's supportive. When somebody supports you regardless, like he supports my delusions, just like this studio right here.
I feel you. I have my entire room here. It's like my little man cave inside the house.
Yeah.
She didn't even force me outside the house. We have an extra bedroom. She goes, here, that's yours. Do what you want with it.
Oh, I love that.
And
she is such a sweetheart.
She is. Now, one thing that I've noticed though, and I've heard on your show, is Daniel really wasn't a believer in the paranormal.
No.
And didn't even believe the stuff that was going on in your own house at first, correct?
Yeah. That was the most we ever fought, actually. When we moved into that house, that was the most we ever fought, because at first it was not happening to anybody else but me. And because he was so skeptical, he's very scientific minded, but then again, he believes in Bigfoot and aliens. Okay. So make that make sense. I can't.
Because they're real, Ashley. That's why.
I get it. And I don't disagree, but he can believe in Bigfoot and UFOs, but he's like, spirits don't exist. And I'm like, but you believe in Bigfoot and aliens. But when we bought the house, we started redoing the house and things started to happen. And because I'm sensitive, like the first thing I noticed was I felt like I was being watched. And it was like if you're out in a crowded space and you can feel somebody's eyes on you. That's what it felt like, but I was completely alone. And like I was looking over my shoulder. I was like, and then my eyes would fixate on one part of the room and it'd be like, what is right there? Like, I don't know why I feel like something's right there, but it feels like there. Oh, I just got chills. This house, man, it feels like something is there. And so that was like at first. And then one of my kids said something like, I just feel like we're never alone in here. And I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. But when things started to move, like at one point I had a candle fly off the shelf in my direction. And Daniel was like, it was just the vibration from the floor. And I'm like, that candle's been there for a year and hasn't moved.
It wasn't like at the edge of the shelf or whatever.
No, it was like in a bookshelf, like an A-frame type bookshelf that was against the wall. So it had to actually go through 2 slits of the legs.
What?
But it was the vibration of the floor that just vibrated it slowly over time. And then there was some kind of velocity, I guess, of the vibration that put it in my direction. I don't know. We got into a fight on that one. But I told him, there's something going on in this house. I was experiencing the lights coming on and off. I was hearing voices. The uneasy feeling when it's a spirit that doesn't want you around. They have a way of it's like they can't physically hurt you, but they can make you so anxious that you can almost hurt yourself in a way. And Daniel wasn't experiencing that. I was having sleep paralysis. I was feeling dark entities over the bed. I was like, there was a Bible in the house that kept moving, and there was a page in the Bible that would come out, and it was the homeowner's Bible. And I would find it, and I'm even asking the kids, like, are you moving this? And they're like, no. And then I asked Daniel, are you moving this? No. Oh God, I have to tell you that story. But like, he was just not believing me. It's electrical. It's the kids. It's a bug. And I know people have beliefs on orbs, but I got this orb coming out from underneath the dining room table when I checked in on the dogs, or we would have a giant orb set the camera motion detection off on the cameras. And they weren't like, you could tell the difference between a bug, because a bug kind of like flitters a little bit. These are like just graceful, directional balls of light. And it wasn't until he was in the living room, he was alone. There were 2 events that happened very close in time. I can't remember if it was the same week or maybe the same whatever. I was in bed because I used to go to bed. I struggled with sleep, and I found out why later. But I was in my room and I heard footsteps. And the kids were with their other parents because we're a blended family. So every other weekend they go to their other parents because we have all 3 of our children that live with us. And I heard footsteps as clear as day. And I thought Daniel was upstairs. I didn't think anything about it. I went to sleep. He heard those same footsteps. He thought I went upstairs. So he came to bed and saw me in bed. And he's like, and he said they were so loud to the point the dog looked upstairs, like looked. So I asked him the next day, I said, hey, did you go upstairs last night? He's like, nope. And I'm like, okay. Well, then another night, very close to that time period, he was studying for this really important exam he had for his job, for his licensing. And the sunroom light came on while he's sitting there. I'm in bed. The kids are gone. And he goes, thanks for turning that on, but I don't need it on. Can you turn it off? And he went back to doing his studying for his test. And then the light went off.
Really?
Yep. And he's like, okay, there's something more here. And I was like, I told you. So when we first moved in the house and we started tearing down walls and doing this and doing that, that's when stuff happened. Well, one of our kids, she's our youngest, she got kind of aggressive. Like we call her the enforcer anyway. So we have the peacekeeper. He's the oldest. We have the instigator. She's the middle. And then we have the enforcer. She's not going to say a word. She's going to come and handle it. She's going to be done. So she got kind of aggressive with the other 2. And we had like no idea why, but because we had just sold her family home and moved, and we just, blended families are hard. I mean, you're blended, there's a lot of emotion. And so she came downstairs one night and she looked like crap. I mean, looked like she had aged 10 years. And I was like, baby, what is going on? And she's like, I think she was scared to tell me because I didn't talk about this before with them. They were 9 and 10 years old, like I didn't want to scare them. And she's like, Ashley, I'm seeing a man in the corner of the loft. And last night he was in my room and he was reaching for me. And I was like, no. So I called one of my friends. So when we bought the house, I saged it, but I did it so wrong because this was in a time that I wasn't as witchy as I am now. I hadn't accepted and moved. I was curious, but I haven't done it because I was scared of what people would think of me. So we bought some sage and I just went through and just saged the house. All smoky with all the windows shut, right? It was a good time. Stunk and the kids were like, what are you doing? I don't know. So I called my friend and I was like, hey, I need your help. I think my house is haunted. And he's been messing with me, but now my youngest is seeing him and he was reaching for her last night. So she's like, did you sage the house? And I told her what I did. And she goes, oh, you effed up. She's like, I'll be there tonight. So I got all the windows opened. I got the house ready. She came. I was scared to death. Daniel, the non-believer at the time, is outside because he's scared. He didn't even stay in. He went and sat in the backyard. I mean, the house felt mad. So when we started in the basement and she started her little prayer. And my whole body from the top of my head to my feet covered in painful stabbing needle chills. Like not just a cold chill, like horribly painful chills. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I got a little bit dizzy. And we started saging, we started saying the prayer, walking around. And as we walked, the air kind of got lighter. I was like, okay. And the chills went away a little bit. We went upstairs. We went into my bedroom where I always felt in the closet I was being watched. And she's like, you're not allowed in here, cleansing the house. It's like, okay, I feel like I can breathe. It feels good. We get to the kitchen. At the time, I don't know anything about the kitchen. We get right next to the stove and the countertop and our sage goes out. And I'm looking at her because we had done the whole basement and half of the first floor, no issues. And then we get to this one spot and the sage has gone out. And I'm like, so she's trying to light it. and it won't light. She finally gets it lit. And I feel like I start going into anaphylaxis shock. Like I can't breathe. My skin is like on fire with these needle chills, and I cannot take a breath. And I'm looking at her and my eyes are wide and I'm terrified because I've never felt this before. And she whispers, "You have to keep going." And I'm like on the verge of tears because I'm scared because I feel like I'm about to die. And when I can finally go, the smoke detector in his old bedroom goes off. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever saged, but it doesn't put out billowing smoke.
Right.
We were on a separate floor, not near his bedroom. And we were underneath a smoke detector that wasn't going off.
Holy cow. So you said his old bedroom. You're talking about the
previous owners.
The previous owner. Okay.
So we get upstairs. She does the upstairs twice because that's where our youngest saw him. And what I did too is I moved my youngest out of that bedroom into a different bedroom because she was terrified of that room. That room felt horrible. I'll tell you some more about that room. But we finished up. The house felt great. The nightmare stopped. The sleep paralysis started later. But we could finally like breathe, you know? Well, then it started back. So I got holy water and I blessed the house. Felt better. But finally, I was like, one of my girlfriends who is a little witchy herself and she does paranormal investigation. She goes, well, you know, maybe y'all just need to coexist. And so I went upstairs into the bedroom. That felt weird. And I said, listen here, you can stay here, but this is your room. Stop effing with my kids. Stop keeping me up at night. Stop messing with my lights. And this is where you stay. You are welcome here, but you stay here. If not, you have to leave. And things settled down.
So was that the room that your daughter was staying in?
Mm-hmm. But I'd moved her out.
Right. I'm just saying, like, that's the room that she was having the experiences in. And then that's where you basically said, this is where you stay. This
is your room. We had a bed in there. It was our guest bedroom, actually. And so what's funny is we were working out in the garden in the front, like yard garden, flower bed. That's what it's called. And I felt like somebody was watching us and we both looked up and the blinds were kind of open like this. And nobody went in there because all the kids were scared of that room. And I hadn't even talked about anything, but they were scared of that room. And I was like, ooh, he's mad at us because we are cleaning out his flower bed and laying. And I had a weird relationship with him. I finally what I learned about him, he was not a really nice person. He loved his garden. He loved his outdoor stuff. And he was very rigid and he was interesting, and he didn't like women or kids or animals. And so I bust up in his house, a very strong-willed woman with 3 children and 4 animals. And so, yeah, I always joke I ruined his afterlife. But what I found out was that room, I'm pretty sure, was his bar area. That's where he hung out. And he would probably go and maybe have a cigar and maybe drink a little and just chill in there. And he lived there with his mother. So I think the top floor was his space. And then the bottom floor was her space. And then the basement was where he ran his business out of. And so he was really, that room, it was kind of like, this is my drinking area. This is my smoking. And I don't know that for sure. I would say that I just, from what I feel and for what I've sensed and kind of the dynamic and what I've learned from him, I think that's what that was. And even to the point where when Daniel would be snoring like a bear in the bedroom and I would go to the guest bedroom, he would stand at the foot of the bed and I could see him in my mind's eye staring at me madder than hell that I was in his room.
What's the spirit's name?
Wayne.
Frank?
Wayne. Yep. And this isn't like a 19th or 18th century ghost. He died in 2018.
I never liked that horror movies. All the ghosts are from the 1700s. It's like people are dying today. There's ghosts from all over, you know. Stop with the. You know, I get it. It's the whole Salem witch thing, and it's spookier when it's this 300-year-old spirit. But
when it's a 2018 ghost, why I ought to hate women and kids. But yeah, I learned he was something else, and it really was. He was a personality. That house was a personality. When we moved into our new house, it was just like, okay, we finally feel at home, like we're at peace, because we never felt that way. And you know how I love the Necrometer, like the app.
Yeah.
Right before I left that house and right before I sold it, I was there and I was cleaning up, making sure everything was where it needed to be. And I had made the new homeowners a little homemade scent thing. And I was smelling it. And anytime I was in that house, I always had the Necrometer running because it was so interesting as to what would come through. And I was smelling it and it said, I like that scent. And I was like, And then I was looking out the backyard and it said backyard. I'm in the backyard. And then I was getting
Wow.
ready to leave and it said, I am alone. And then I get in the car to leave and it said, bitch.
He's like, I'm trying to get you to stay, but you didn't stay.
Bitch.
You
Yeah.
know, just like the manipulative. Oh, please stay, please stay. Oh, you're not gonna
Go
stay.
F yourself. Well, and I think, when we finally coexisted and I finally gave him his room and I stayed out of it because I actually made a guest bedroom downstairs and that's where I would sleep if Daniel was keeping me up. And that light would come on and off, on and off, on and off. And it was very playful. Like we were all in there one time, the kids and everybody, and it was going on and off, on and off. And the kids were giggling and the more they laughed, the more it did it. And it was almost like playful, but in the beginning it wasn't. In the beginning it felt oppressive. It was rough in the beginning. Like, and I tell people we didn't move because of the house was haunted. Like I would still be there today because it was fascinating to me. We moved because we had issues with kids' school and we needed them on the bus. We needed to get into a house where they could ride the bus. And it all just worked out. But yeah, I loved that house. That house was like my dream home. And there were so many possibilities there, but it just, and he comes to visit every once in a while. I have his desk in my office and I told him when I was leaving, hey, I'm taking your desk. If you want to come visit, but you can't stay there. So every once in a while I get that kind of familiar feeling of him and then he'll leave.
So you have other stuff that goes on in the house you're in now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's me.
Oh yeah. It's not the house, it's the occupant.
It's the occupant. Yeah. It's funny because when we first moved in here, there is a puzzle. It's a huge puzzle, like 5 foot by 8 foot puzzle in the garage. And I looked at it and I was like, that is impressive. But something about that puzzle, I was like, there's something about that
It's
puzzle.
impressive just because think of the table it had to be on.
Right? Well, I'm pretty sure. So I was outside one day and kind of like the other neighbors at the other house, the neighbor came out to talk to me and he said, if you ever have anything going on in that house, it's probably Al, the guy that lived there. And I was like, oh, he goes, he loves puzzles. And I was like, no wonder I looked at that puzzle and I'm like, there's something about that puzzle. At the last house, I'm jumping around a little bit. I apologize.
Right.
The last house, when I moved in, the neighbors flocked outside the first time I was outside to tell me all about him. It was the weirdest event. I have never met so many neighbors in my life all at once, ever. And nothing good. They had nothing good to say about him. Not one. And then, come to find out he died in the kitchen from anaphylaxis.
That's where you were having, like, you couldn't breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Missed that part. It's that ADH brain. But yeah, I was sick all of 2022 after I moved into that house and I couldn't figure out why. And after I made peace with him, and it's like, you can stay here, but you can't be a butthole. All my health problems went away.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think he was trying to make me feel how he felt before he passed away.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. Was he trying to transfer his issues onto you, or was it just he just hated women? I don't know.
So my first psychic reading I ever had was I won a psychic reading, and she's from Canada, and she, I'm not a skeptic about psychics because I know of my abilities. I'm a skeptic of people that charge a bunch of money for it. So this was a free reading that I got. I gave her my name, of course, and she told me, she blew my mind. She told me that something really significant happened at age 30, and that's when I became a single mother. She said my awakening started around that time, and that's about right when I started kind of coming out of, started getting my abilities back. And she said, you are meant to help people cross over. They come to you because they know they're there, and your gifts should be at some point to help people cross over. And she's like, they come to you in your sleep and they interfere with your sleep. I have been an insomniac on and off since I was 13.
Wow.
And she didn't know that. They do. They mess with my sleep, and I will see them when I'm in that half awake, half dream state is when I do see them physically. Like my grandmother, my mentor is like, call out to your grandmother, see if she'll come. So I called out, and that night my aunt showed up, and she was rocking in a rocking chair and looked at me, and I was like, what are you doing here? The next night I was in that kind of in between, and I was like lucid dreaming, but I wasn't completely asleep, but I wasn't awake, but it was that in between realm,
Mm-hmm.
And I look over at the door and she walks in and she has this bright pink blouse on, like a silk blouse. She's got her little purse, her little khakis and her little slides, her shoes. She's just looking all fabulous like she always did, little pearls on. And she said something about her being taller than me because she was like 4'10". But I guess because she's in heaven now, she's taller than me now. And she gave me a hug and she looked dead face at me and said, I do not love that you're into this stuff.
But yet, here she is.
She came. Yeah, she is always around. I find not so much anymore because we're in a better place. I got to tell you what's been going on in our lives the past 2 years, and I can't do it on here, but I have to tell you. But I started finding these dimes, and I mean, at the bottom of a pool. I'd find them in parking lots outside of my car door. I'd find them in random purses. I'd find them in empty boxes. I'd find them just, I mean, when I say random, I was about to get on a plane and I look down and there's 2 dimes in the seat that I'm about to sit on. And it's not, I mean, I find pennies too, but it's dimes, specifically dimes I find everywhere. And so when I had done a paranormal investigation the first time of my house, my haunted house, I asked her if it was her that was leaving me the dimes. And it's like, yep. And it to me, it's almost like I thought they were kind of messages of comfort. But when I put everything together, it was actually warning. It was like warning signs. Their way of warning me something was coming.
Did you realize this before or after you found them on the plane?
After.
Okay.
But nothing happened. We arrived safely. That trip was really weird. It was supposed to be our anniversary trip and my husband couldn't go and there was some stuff that happened, but it was and maybe not all of them, but at the time I thought they were comfort. I'm like, oh, this is just comfort. Like, oh, my family's here. Yay, they're with me. But as time went on, it was that correlation of I would find one and the next day something would happen.
And that's it for tonight. Make sure you head over to Ghost Gossip to watch my part of the interview. Part 2 with Ashley will drop on Wednesday. Have a good night, everyone.
Shadow in the pines lurking in the dusky air. Bigfoot stomps through the woods like he don't care. Lights in the sky flash green then blue. Aliens descending with a secret or two.